Hey guys, welcome to Code Tali YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to talk about the REST controllers in Spring Boot. This is the starting point, guys, of the microservices, and this is one of the most important concepts. Okay, so on a high level, we are going to touch how to implement get and post methods in this video. Okay, so as I said, it's a very high level, guys. We're not touching at the db level here. Okay, so let's get started here. This is my application, guys. If you see here, this is my package called com.code. This is where my main method here. Okay, so here you right click here and click on the new, and you have a package option. There you create controller. Okay, so this is really important to make sure that you are defining everything in a given package. Okay, that is where your readability comes into picture. Okay, so here I am taking an interface, guys, because I only want to define the methods here. I don't want to implement anything here. So this is a controller. So as I said, rest controller. So rest controller, let's say like what we'll give code tali rest controller, because this is our YouTube channel, right? So I created a finish here. Okay, then how you define a controller as a rest controller? Simply import this annotation at the rate rest controller. Okay, then here we'll take a get method. Here we have four different kinds of methods, guys: get, post, put and delete. Most of the times put and delete we don't work upon, as well as get in real time. Most of the times we create the post method. Okay, that we'll see later. So for get mapping, here you could see something like this, something slash get. Okay, and we'll give something like public void get impl. This should be fine, guys. As I said, it's a interface. I'm not implementing anything. And let's import the get mapping here. Okay, you see most of the videos as well as the class, as well as the examples where they implement the methods in a controller itself. That way you can do, but most preferable as well as most real-time applications will use this way, because they want to separate the methods from the implementation side. Okay, next we'll take post mapping. Value is equal to something like post. Here as well we'll give public void post impl. Okay, now this one I'm keeping. Now it's time to, I have built my rest controller. Okay, now it's time to implement these methods. Okay, so as I said, it's an interface. I am going to create another class which going to implement this interface, guys. So for that, let me create a package. This is again on the main package. You go and create a service package. Okay, so right click here, you go and create a class, call it as code tali service impl. This class names are as so is very close to the real time, guys. Something like service impl, controller. Okay, and here let me define this as a service. Service is nothing but the a service which is actually implementing our controller here. Okay, and implements what? It is implementing code tali rest controller. Okay, service been implemented, and here it is asking us to implement the and in and these methods, okay, which are presented in the controller. Now you get the interface here. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll simply write a sysout here, something like um, entered into get method, and in the post I'll something like again a sysout entered into post method. Okay, this should be sufficient, guys. As I said, it is only the very beginning, so yeah, I remove this override as well. I don't think it's needed. Now everything looks good, and here is our Spring application. Okay, now let me save this as well. Now everything is saved and it started executing. Okay, now how to get into this method? If you see in the execution in the console, application is started at where it is started at 8080. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm simply returning into the console, guys. If you get inside this method, I'm only returning this into the console. Okay, so I can go here localhost 8080. Let me do localhost 8080 is my Spring Boot application, but in order to get into the REST controller here, get method, this is nothing but a URI. That means you're uniquely identifying it. Okay, so slash get you can take something like this. If you see here, entered into get method, which is nothing but it came here, it went inside this and went into this method. Okay, similarly if you go here, we have a slash post. So yeah, let me do something like this. Enter. Okay, I cannot access it directly with the help of post here. That is a reason. Okay, that is a reason. So what I'll try to do, post method I cannot directly access like this, right? So do I have soap UI installed? Even I don't know. Soap UI, soap UI, I don't think I have installed here. um in my office laptop I have actually, but here I don't have. Just a minute, guys. So I'm trying to download soap UI, guys. I'll show you after that the output. So I'm pausing the video here. You could see it started executing. If you have another tool, you can directly use it, guys. Yeah, guys, in the meantime, till it gets downloaded, here you could give something like this as well. This is a parent, this is where it starts. From there slash you could give here. Okay, like this also. Previously I have given something like this instead of value. That also works, this also works. I just want to show you different possibilities here. Okay, so guys, now you could see here we have the soap UI. Okay, so do we really need this? No. Yeah, so let me go to the rest here and give our URI. Okay, so something like, let's take this one, localhost 8080. Okay, something like this. Create the project here. This is our get method is here. Okay, and make sure the Spring Boot is actually executing. Yeah, it's executing. Now if I hit here, okay, you could see it's inside the get method. Now post I execute this is inside the post method, guys. So this is a small demo on the REST controllers, guys. I know it's little bit bigger, but this is a entry point. Okay, you need to know, you not this one actually, this I am actually checking for another way of implementation, but yeah, you need to know how to create this REST controller. You need to know this packaging as well, and this mappings. Okay, this is a high level overview, guys. Hope this video is informative for you guys. If you found it useful, what you need to do, you need to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, it's me Karthik. Until next time, bye bye. Hey guys, welcome to Tali YouTube channel. So in my previous video, we have seen the high level of REST controller, something like this, creating a post method, and when we are hitting the post call from the SOAP UI, it is going inside the post method, right? So in this video, we are going to go little bit advanced here, something like how can I send the data into the post method into the request body, and how can I get the response from it and print it as a response from the post method. Okay, so on a high level, we are going to touch consume, produce, and bean concepts in Spring Boot, guys. So I hope this video is going to be really informative for you guys. So if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing, guys. So yeah, let's get into it. And also, if you have not watched my previous video where we have talked about high level on the REST controller, I really suggest you guys to have a look at it. Okay, so yeah, let's get into this. So this is where I am in my REST controller, guys. So simply I create another post mapping, something like this. Post mapping value is equal to something like post data. I'll give, because we are handling data in this method. So let's create something like public void uh, post with data impl. Okay, this is again interface, guys. Now let's go step by step. Here I want to send the data as an input. Okay, so the input could be of many formats, right? Something like you can send it as a string, or you can send it as a JSON, or you can send it as a XML. Well, most of the times in REST controllers, we are dealing with JSON. So in this tutorial, I'm going to explain the same thing here. So in order to send the JSON, something like this I am going to send, guys. I have a JSON object of SID means student ID, something like one, and S name. Okay, so let's say like Code Tali, this is our YouTube channel. Okay, this part I am going to send into the request. Okay, so in order to send this as a request, let's create a bean class, input class here. Okay, here so go to the main package, create a new package, something like input bean. Why I'm doing this is like I want to separate everything. If you see my project here, this is a controller where only controller is presented, service only service is presented. This is my input being here. I'm taking a class, something like student class here, and I'm using the Lambok concepts here, guys. Okay, so private int sid, there is a student id, private string s name, this is a student name. Okay, go here on the top of the class, give something like setter. uh, so highlight on this and change it to setter, lombok setter. Lombok is really useful here. Okay, getter, do this also to string. Okay, Well, if you don't have and if you don't want to use Lambok here, you can raise getter setters, or you can go here, right click, and so you have option to implement getters and setters, guys. Okay, so somewhere it will be there. Since I'm using this, maybe it's not. Yeah, you could see generate setters and getters. Since I'm using my here, they are saying like this contains like this because I am already using the Lambok ones. Okay, so no need of that. Somehow I given the wrong class name, so what we need to do is let's change the class name as well. Well, yeah, that's good. And now this is my input being ready. This is the input is ready. Now, how can I send these input into my post method? Well, that we'll see now. Go to the controller here, and this is my post mapping, right? Now here you have to tell this method it is going to consume the JSON data. Okay, how? Consume media type dot JSON. Okay, so they have this thing called application JSON value. So import your consumes here. Okay, somewhere consumes have been imported here. You are sending this as a request body, guys. Okay, request body. Okay, how to send this in request body we'll see while we are showing the output. Okay, so request body of what type? It is of student type. This is the student type, right? And S, you need to import the student here. Save it. And if you come to the service implementation, because this is a interface and I'm implementing this here, and it will ask for that. If you don't, you can directly implement over there as well if you keep it as a class. Okay, now if you see here, for this method student is coming as a parameter, right? Now what I'll do is I'll simply print these into the console, something like s dot get s name and sysout s dot get s, what I given, sid. Okay, side I have given. Okay, is it? So let me give it as this. Then it will be like s dot get sid, that means student id. Okay, so as of now I'm trying to print them to the console. Okay, now since it started executing here, what I'll do is I'll go to my my soap ui, and this is okay, this is a one, and I'll keep another method here somewhere here. Okay, um new resource I'll give uh, okay, yeah, post with data will take post with data here, and request controller post with data resource name. Let's change this into what, post data, this one, right? So this is a post method and resource is slash post data. Okay, now as we have discussed, it is consuming media type of JSON, that means it's a request body for this post method. So I am here with post and this is my request body, guys. So let's build our JSON here. So sid here, if you go to the input being student, it is of integer type, so you don't need to give the quotes here, comma, another one is s, okay, name, That's fine. And let's give something like code tali. Okay, so if I execute this, ideally it should print the sid and s name onto the console, right? Because I am implementing this controller here. So let me execute this, and if you see here code tali we got, and we got the name, right? So yeah, id we got. So let me try to change this to something else like code tali 1 sid as 11 and execute, and we got them properly. Okay, now we have sent this as a json data. Okay, that's good, but how can I print this as a that means how can I send the response as a json data? Here we have sent this as a request, right? Request, this is good, but I want to get the response as well in the form of json only. Then let's see that as well. Here we go to the post method, and here we have consuming as a json, right? Now let's go to the produces as a json method as well. Media type dot application json value, this is a value, guys. Okay, now the next question is like what it is going to return. Let's return the same input into the output as well. Okay, so let me save this and come here, and here instead of post method I have given this as a student type, right? Now come here with the same thing and return these as a student, that is s. That means whatever the input I am giving, I am going to send the response in the same time, same data here with the json. Okay, now if I execute this is going to execute. So on a high level, what we did, we have consuming the json data as an input, and we are returning the json data as an output, and we are not doing any modifications inside the method. That's fine, that's fine. So we are sending this s as an input, and we are sending that to the output. Okay, so if you see here it started executing. Now let's go to the soap UI and let's see. So I have executed. Now you could see this is my input in the body, and this is my output in the response. Okay, let me give you with another one, code tali 13. Okay, now execute. Now you could see we got this, right? So in this video what we have learned, we have learned about how to send request as a json and how to get response as a json format, guys. So here in the response as well, if you have seen properly, we are only using the same bean, which is an input bean. So in other videos we'll try to convert that. Okay, until that time what you need to do, you need to subscribe to my channel for more videos of this kind. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you, bye. Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Code Tali YouTube channel. So in my previous videos we have seen how we can implement the REST controller, how we can pass the parameters as a request and response, and also we have seen the headers. So let me show you the output ones. So here if you see, I am passing a JSON object here of the student type, which is I have defined having student ID and name here. So when I'm passing it, I am getting the response onto the console here. This is my, sorry, onto the response here. Let's say like I have passed something like this. Okay, and I got the response as null here. So this response in UL time what happens will be handled by Angular. So let's say like our web application is built on Angular or the React, and our backend is built with the Spring Boot. So this is actually handled by Angular. And are we sending a proper message to the Angular whether the response is clear or not? How do they handle it? Well, let me show you with other response here. So I have another service response as like this. Let me show you with this. Okay, then if you see here, this is actually a proper response, isn't it? Okay, and if I remove this one and execute it, if you see here, status as failure in this case. If I add something, then the status as success. So some field is based on this field, if it is failure or the success or the status code field. Okay, if I give this as a null or the empty value, status code as 400, so error message is something is there. So based on this field, actually in Angular we can able to handle it very efficiently. So this part, this is the response of the our microservice, which is a post microservice here, is actually called as response entity. Okay, so this part we are going to discuss as part of this video, response entity, how to build the response entity object. Okay, so let's get into the video, guys, directly. So response will have two kinds of things, guys. So response will have, usually response entity will have the status message and the body message. Okay, and if something happens, we are going to give the error message as well. Okay, so these things I'll show you here. As I said, status, body, and error message, right? So accordingly, I'll create my response bean here. So this is my response package here. Something like I'll take a class called student response bean. Okay. If I take here, I'll show few things here. So like private string error message, just in case there is an error, private string status of the API call here, private int status code I'm going to send here, and here I have to send the response, right? If everything is good, I have to send the response in this format. Let's say like this format. Okay, this is a student type. In your case, it might be different, guys. So this student is actually my input bin, this one. So I'm going to send this in my response here. How? Simply use private student of student type. Okay, this student will go into import. Now we have set our response bean here. Now what I need to do, I need to get the setters getters to string. Okay, so setter, sorry, not setter getter and toString method. Okay, I have this ready. Next, what I'll do is now let me go to the control and define some method here. Okay, controller, sorry, I have a post mapping here, and value is equal to, let me take as student response object. Okay, and it is going to consumes media type dot application underscore JSON value. So it is going to consume the JSON value. At the same time, it is going to produce the JSON value, isn't it? So media type dot application underscore JSON value. Okay, this is done. Then this is a post mapping, right? Now this is interesting, guys. This you need to be more careful here. Post mapping, I think I already have. um, we'll see this here. Response entity, okay, of what type? Of my student's response bean, student response bean, okay, of, let's say, like student response post call. Okay, here student response bean I am importing, and I am passing response body as what? Response body as my response body as a student in this case. Okay, let's say like s response body I have imported, right? Now this allowed for this location post mapping. Here, just a minute, guys. Response, not response, sorry, it's a request body. Request body. Request body. Okay. Then here, once I save it, if I go to my service method, I am implementing this one, right? So I'm implementing this one. Okay. This is my method where sorry, this is my method, sorry, this is a method we need to discuss more. Let me put like this: response entity of student response. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'm going to, based on my input, if the name is empty, I am going to send the null response or some error message. If the name is proper, I am going to send the actual response here. Okay, so what I need to do here is, as I said, if the name is empty, that means s dot get name. S is nothing but student, right? S dot get name. Let me show you the student object here. Student object is having student ID and name. So I am defining that here student response. Here student dot get name is actually dot is empty. If it is empty, what I need to do? If it is not empty, what I need to do? Okay, so in this case, my student response, that means the object I am passing here, that means something like this, is actually empty. Okay, when it's empty, what I need to do here? Okay, when it's empty, the status is 400 or something other than 200, and some error message as student name is empty and body will be null, right? So that thing I have to show here. If you see this response entity of student response bean, so let me create an object of student response bean. Student response bean SB is equal to new student response bean object I have been created. Okay, so when it's empty, okay, that means SB dot set status code as 400 and SB dot set status miss status as something like failure And when my status SB is failure, I need to set my error message as something like student name is empty. Okay, this part, once I have set this part, okay, set, sorry, it should be set, not get, set error message as empty. Once I set this part, I need to return my response object. So return response entity of, that means response entity dot, here bad request dot body of, what is the body here, SB, student response is my body. Okay, if it is not empty, that means everything is good here, then SB dot set student, this one, if you see in my response bean, I have a student type, right? So when my student name is not empty, that student is actually being set to this one, right? So sp dot set student of this one, input s, then sb dot set status as something like success, success, success. Okay, then sb dot set status code as 200. Then I am returning, I don't need to put error message here, it will be automatically set as null here. So is now I need to return this object, so response entity of, response entity of, okay, okay, then body as sb, there is a student response bean, I can remove this return statement. Okay, now if you see here, this is my response, so this is my post call, I have started executing the project here. Now go to my soap UI here, this is my uh, resource, and when the name is not empty, why I am handling the name thing here, here I'm handling the name thing when it is not empty, this being set, right? So when there is a name which is not been empty, now you could see the status as success, status code as 200, and student object being set properly. When the student name is empty, guys, okay, then you could see student is returned null with the status code as failure. So my Angular will actually use the status code and the status field, then it will handle it properly instead of sending it direct response. It is a really good practice to use response entity object. Okay, so this is a small demo on the response entity object in Spring Boot, guys. I hope this video is informative for you guys. If you found it useful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and also do watch other videos on my channel. So these are the videos on the Spring Boot as of now, and I will be adding many more. So there, this is a 8th video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome to Kotali YouTube channel. So this is our 11th video on this channel, and one of the most interesting and very important real-time scenario we are going to discuss here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Spring Data JPA implementation from the very scratch, and I'll tell you some, easy steps. So for the demo purpose, I'm going to show you how we can insert the data into the table with the help of Spring Data JPA. So I have this input thing here. So what I'll do is I'll simply execute this here. Okay, Kotali 124, something like this. And let's go to the DB and refresh it. Now you could see this got inserted into the table. In the backend, I have actually used Spring Data JPA, guys. So how to do that and what are the steps that we'll discuss as part of this video from the scratch. Okay, so let's get into the topic, guys. As I said, we are dealing about the tables, right? So the first and foremost thing is to make sure that your database is up and running. In my case, I'm actually running in the local, guys. I have installed MariaDB for this purpose, and I'm connected to the DB server with the help of the EDSQL. And do know that both of them are open source tools. That's why I could able to install in my local, guys. In your case, you might be using MySQL, you might be using SQL Server or the Oracle, anything, the steps going to be same. Then once your DB is up and running, make sure that your table is actually created inside that DB. Okay, so in my case, if I go and show you, this is my DB, guys. Test is my DB, and this is my table called student table. Student table is actually having two columns. What is that? It is student ID and name. If you don't have this, you create this table, guys. Simply using create table name command, you can actually create this table. Okay, so once that is done, these are nothing to do with your Spring Boot. These are the basic requirements. Okay, then you have this table, right? First and foremost thing, have a look at this table, guys, and then decide, have a look at your table. If you see here, this is my SID and S name, integer and varchar, and in my case this is my primary key. Okay, have a look at this table and you create an entity class based on your table. Okay, your entity class is nothing but it is going to represent your DB table at Spring Boot level. Okay, so yeah, let's create that entity class, guys. So let me close everything here, and if you see here, I have a package called entities. This is where I am going to keep my entity class. Okay, this is really useful if you create inside create a packages for everything, so that you can able to differentiate very easily. Okay, so something like student, I already have a student entity, right? So what I am doing is like student entity table, something like this. I am giving a class name. Okay, then what you can do here is, for the student entity class name, actually this is not responding as of now. Yeah, it is now, should be responding properly. Not sure why. Yeah, this should be fine. Yes, so as I said, it is an equivalent of the table, right? So what I'll do here is like just a minute, guys. It is not responding actually. Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah, it's fine now. So what I'll do is simply first you name this annotation called entity, so that your Spring Boot knows that it is an entity class. Okay, then you make a annotation called table with name as, what is the name? Name of your actual DB. My DB is student. Okay, so you can do this. Actually this is an optional tag, guys. If your class name and student name is same, you don't have to use at the rate table, but it is a really good practice to use this. Okay, this is my table, Then I have a column, because table is nothing but set of columns and rows, right? So I'll give as SID here. I am having a column, so this one is private int SID. Okay, column, and this column name, guys, is actually the column name of your DB. In this case is SID. I am defining this as a SID, and as I said, it is a primary key entity, so I am using something called @ID here. Okay, then next is the second one. So for that, what is the column name? Column name is S name, right? That is a student name. So I am using that here, S name with private string S name, right? So this is done. Then what you need to do is you need to generate setters and getters for this. So simply go to right click here, go to the source, and you have generate setters and getters. Then you select all. In the down you click on generate. The setters and getters will be generated. Then generate toString method. So select all the columns and your toString method got generated. Simply click on the save. So what happened now is you have the table in your DB, and you have the replica of the table in your entity class. Okay, replica of table in entity class. Another important thing we missed out is, before creating an entity class, that is a table related data, what you need to do is you need to configure your application.properties. This is a very important step, guys. So here you have the application.properties, right? What I suggest you guys is go to the Google and type your DB here, MariaDB. In my case I'm using, so MariaDB application.properties you type, and it will go there, and you simply select all of these things and try to import, guys. Okay, this only I have did here. Okay, simply something like this. Since it is already there, it is showing me duplicates. Okay, so what we are doing here, this is my MariaDB. This is a class name, and where it is presented in the local. If it is presented in the network drive, then you can do that as well. And your username and password of the MariaDB, and this is a simple thing. Okay. So I'll going to put these lines in the description of the video, guys. Okay. So what have completed? We have configured our application.properties, and we have created the replica of the table using entity class. Now it is the time for the bigger thing. This is where the fun will start, guys. This is where we are going to create a repository. Okay, so I have a package called repository package. If you see here, com.code.repository, this is again a syntax, very good syntax, I suggest. Previously we have entities, so we have kept our student entity table over there. Now we are using the repository, so I have the repository package here. If it is not there for you, if it is not available, please create. Now what you need to do is create a interface. Okay, now create an interface for what? Student entity table, right? So student, what I'll do is student student entity, student table repo, something like this. I'm creating. Okay, click on the finish. Now what you need to do is, I think it's stuck again. Okay, Here what you need to do is you need to extend JPA repository, guys. So simply give one space, again it's stuck. Yeah, so extends I hope this is clear until now. Guys, if you found any doubts until here, please do, okay, please do, pause the video and do watch it, guys, because it's going to be little lengthy. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. Now I am going to extends JPA repository. Okay, zeta re. This one here, what you need to give here is you need to give your entity name. So student entity table is my entity name. Then you need to give the primary key. This is other primary key or the ID column. So this is my ID column, SID of what type? Integer type. So I need to give that type here. Okay. So JPA repository is taking my entity table as the input with the type of the column where the key is presented. Okay, in my student entity table here the ID is of integer type. If you see here, this is the integer type, right? So I have given this as an integer. Okay, now as I said is a repository, right? So what you need to do is you need to have a annotation called repository, then import that thing here. Okay, this repository, this with the help of this class, what I'll do is I am going to I am going to interact with the actual table, guys. Okay, JPA repository is nothing but a already available implementation class where you have so many already implemented methods, guys. Okay, so here I have this JPA repository, right? Now what you can do is go to your controller. Now what I need to do is I am going to use that JPA repository in my one of the calls here. Okay, so for that purpose I am going to take one post call here. Let me copy paste this. So student response I have, right? So something like student entity response, I am taking a post mapping with the value as student entity response, and it is going to consume application as it's going to consume the JSON data and is going to produce the JSON data, right? Now here it is going to return the student entity, it is going to return the response entity. Okay, so this part I'll explain. So let me clear this student response post, right? So student entity response post, like that I'll create a method here. Okay, so as I said, this is a controller, right? This is a controller, and this is again an interface, guys. So in my service method I'm implementing all the methods available in the controller. Again, this is a very high level standard. Okay, industry standard, you could say. So here we have the student entity post method. How we can know? Simply go to the controller. Here you go to the open implementation and we got it till here. Okay, so as I said, student is going to be our input that we have discussed in the very beginning, right? Student, sorry, is going to be our input. Okay, so student is our input. This is fine. Just a minute, again start. Yeah, student is going to be our input. Okay, and student response, let's see that student response is nothing but a response of the we are inserting, right? So response of the response entity. So response entity, I have made a separate video, guys. In a high level, it is going to return the response of the microservice. If it is fails, we are going to send that message here into the string value error message and the status. All those things we are setting. Okay, so here we have the input as student, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply check few things. If our student id is null, then it I'm not going to insert any data. Okay, so for that purpose I have student s, right? So s dot get sid, okay, is not is equal to something like 0. I'll take, being a primary primary field column, I'm taking like this. Then if it is not is equal to 0, else if it is equal to 0, something like this. Okay, if it is equal to 0 means I'm going to return some error message. Okay, so to do that, this is my response class, right? Student response bean. So simply take this student response bean. So srb is equal to new student response bean. Here srb dot set error message as sid is empty. That means student id is empty or null. That should not going to happen, but that is how the message is. So student response, if you see here, we have, if it is error, we are setting the error. If it status error code is everything is good, I'm going to set the student, which is our input, to this object, right? So in this case it is going to be null. So I'm setting this entire error message related thing here. Set status as other than 200, let me keep it as 400, and srb, what happened? Okay, okay, set status is nothing but failure. We have another field called status code. There we need to set status code as something like 400. Okay, this everything we have another separate video, guys. I really suggest you guys to have a look at there. Okay, now return response entity. Response entity, okay, this is my response entity, right? So response entity dot what is happening here, just a minute, it's not a method here. So response entity dot bad request of the body is srb. This body I am sending with bad request. If my id is not null or not 0 in this case, then I'm going to send the proper data. How? srb dot set student, or you can say first let's say set status as success, 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 and srb dot set status code as 200, and srb dot set student. If you see, this student is actually this one. Okay, and I am returning, what I am returning, srb dot here I am returning return here response entity of okay of body what srb. Okay, until now here on this method implementation, Did we actually using the repository that we have created? No, right? We are not dealing that, saving the data there. But now we are going to deal it actually. Okay, so for that purpose, just a minute guys, it is actually stuck again because it's executing in the backend. Okay, for that purpose, okay, we have the repository, right? So I am going to use auto wide concept here. That means it is going to give all the dependencies, okay, by itself. So auto wide of student, what is our repository? Student table repo, something like str student table repo, str I taken, and you import this one student, okay, str. Now come back here, okay. Also if you see, student table repo here, just a minute guys, student table repo where the input type is not a student. Input type is student entity table that we have created in the very beginning of the video. Okay, this is our student entity table. Okay, so student entity table is again of student data only, but within a different class, right? It's having sid sname. Now what you need to do here is you need to let me show you here, service impl. Okay, so let me create an object of student entity table, something like set is equal to new student entity table. Okay, entity table. Now what is happening, let me import this guy, strength 2, yes. In the success method, when it is success here, okay, what we need to do is here, before returning here, what we need to do is here I am going to set my sid student id. How? From the student sid, right? So s dot get sid. In a similar way I need to use set s name, student name, as s dot get student name, right? Now we have our auto wide object right here. So this str, what you need to do is use it here, str dot save. I am saving the student object here by converting that into the student entity table. Okay, now click on the save. I think this should be perfectly ready guys. Okay, so go to your controller class and student entity response. This is your value, right? Now go to your soap UI, set your method. In my case this is my resource method. Okay, so let me take id as 15, data as Karthik. Now let me execute this. This is success. Let me go to the SQL and show you the result. So 15, Karthik as success. Let me take one more object here, something like 16, and here Karthik Beti. Now you execute, it is success here, and go to the db here and show you me the values. So this is 16, we got it. So this is a small demo on the spring data jpa guys. It is a very simple when you follow the actual steps. What are the steps? First you clear from the sql side. What are those things? You run the server, you make sure the table is available. Then you configure your SQL details or the DB details in your application.properties. Then what you need to do, then you create a replica of the table with the help of the entity class. Then you create a repository with the help of your entity class. Then you use that repository with the help of auto-wide concept. I hope this video is informative for you guys. If you found it useful, what you need to do, you need to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. It's me, Karthik. Until next time.